Hello everyone, it is Andrew from MAO Magic with the Eve Door and Window Wireless Contact Sensor. Basically, this is just a HomeKit enabled sensor that lets you know when your door is open or closed. And of course, that applies to windows as well, basically anything that opens and closes. So when it originally launched, you could do kind of three things. You could see the open or closed state of your door. You get insights on that information, and you could see how long it's been open and how long it's been closed. But since then, HomeKit has expanded its features, and these Eve door and window sensors were given an update to now act as triggers for the rest of your HomeKit smart home. So for instance, I could set up a different trigger, so if my door opens and it's in the evenings, I can turn on my outdoor or indoor lights. So just small things like that you can do that are super useful and make these sensors more than just kind of is my door open type of sensor. It really makes these very useful and what starts to make your home smart. Inside the box itself, you have two different parts of the sensor, the smaller part and the larger part. The larger one houses the battery and kind of the smarts of it. It also has the HomeKit code on the bottom. The other one almost essentially acts like a magnet and just lets it know if it's near or far away, kind of representing if the door is closed or open. You also get a tiny little green box full of, I don't really want to say accessories, but just other little parts to help you in the setup of this. Notably, a battery is going to be important, as well as a couple little spacers that we'll get to when we actually go to install this little guy. Now, those spacers that we use, that was my one kind of downside with the actual sensors itself. They didn't stay together quite as much as I'd want them to, but it was really not a big issue just to glue or tape them to make sure they stay together a little bit better. Inside of the top of the box, you also have a little instruction manual, which again includes a second copy of that HomeKit code that is printed on the device itself. You do have to install the battery, which takes you a full half a second. They're pretty standard batteries that you can find online if you need to replace them. They lasted definitely a while for me, at least a year or so, I believe. From when I originally got this, I had to eventually replace the battery, so not too much of a hassle. It's definitely something that you can handle if you do need to. So let's go ahead and look at actually installing this. You have all these different spaces because you need these to line up on your door, and they're not necessarily going to be at the same level. Your sliding door or your window, they could be slightly offset from one another, so you can use these spacers to make sure that they are kind of touching. You can see a little pattern printed on both of them, so you know where they should be close together, and obviously you'll know pretty quickly once you have it installed if it's working or not, because your app is going to quickly tell you if your door is open or closed or not at all. So when I first installed this, I tried it with the larger side here on the left, which totally seemed like it makes sense, except for now my little dot piece, the door is slightly behind the molding there, so it didn't really work out. So I had to actually take that off and flip them around. So then I put a few different spacers on, and now the tops of these line up and they're correctly oriented towards one another. You can see when I open it up, a little red light comes on, so I can see that this is working and reporting back to my phone and the app. So because we are looking at the Eve in general, we're doing a review on the Eve, we should take a look at the Eve app compared to the official Apple HomeKit app, though they do really similar things. So you can see in the bottom right hand corner there, I've actually grown to really like this app. This is definitely one of the better HomeKit apps out there to use, not just with your Eve accessories, but with any HomeKit accessories that you have. And installing these and kind of hooking up to your HomeKit works just like the other ones do. So first you're going to actually come in here and say add accessory. You're going to scan that little HomeKit code. It's going to pull up on your screen and sync that and pair it to your actual iCloud and HomeKit account. It'll allow you to name it as well. And that pairing process is very important because it is what makes HomeKit so much more secure than other home automation platforms out there. We can now choose what kind of door. Is this a regular door, a sliding door, or an opening window, whatever it may be. I chose sliding door and named it that and set an appropriate icon to go along with it. So let's take a look at some of the basic functionality, which you can now just ask Siri, hey, is my door open, is my window open, whatever it may be. So in this case, I can ask if my sliding door is open, and it'll ask around and it can report back that no, it is closed, it is not open. You do have remote access to this as well. If you have an Apple TV or an iOS 10 iPad lying around your house, it will connect via Bluetooth and report to you remotely. So, oh shoot, did I leave that window open? You can ask Siri and it will tell you. You can also see the history there of when it was open and closed. It'll give you the hours and time that it has been open versus closed as well. So you can kind of see how that may be playing into other things like the temperature inside of your house. Maybe it's been open. Oh shoot, that's why my temperature was up, which should be a pretty obvious thing to do, but it gives you those insights nonetheless. So you can view other than where it just tells you times open today, 18 times. You can also jump into this at a glance view, which will show you everything broken down by room. So you can see in the living room, I have my door and it was open this many times. So it is kind of a good high-level overview in this at a glance view. You can see every single HomeKit accessory in your home, whether it's light bulbs, switches, thermostats, locks, whatever it may be. If we go into that sliding door and you can see it was open 18 times, here's a little bit of a breakdown. They're all kind of right in the same spot at this moment because I've been testing it a bunch for this particular video. So why don't we hippity hop over to Apple's new Home app, which is included in iOS 10. You can do all this in the Eve, but I feel like we should mention the HomeKit app, the actual Home app, because it is what a lot of people are starting to use. So you can see all of my accessories here. Once again, you can see I have my door, not a lot of things to it because it is just a sensor. It just gives me that Boolean state of open or closed. But I can see the battery level. Of course, it's not charging because it's running off of a battery, and I can see which room it is in. So I can change the room of this as well. And I can also include the status and allow notifications. So what that means is every time a door or window open with a sensor, I get a little push notification, which can be very handy to know when someone is coming or going and what time that happened. So let's take a look at the automation part here, because that's really what makes the HomeKit powerful and what makes these sensors extremely, extremely useful. So you can do things based on 4 different criteria here. So your location changes, a time of day occurs, an activity or an accessory is controlled, or a sensor detects something. So those are the different options that you have. As far as sensors go, we have things like a motion sensor around. So if a motion detector detects motion, something happens. Time happens. So if it's sunrise or sunset, a light turns on. Great. You have the location. So I get home, the lights come on. I leave, the lights go off, or the door locks, something like that. But then we also have this accessory automation. So an accessory is controlled or something happens with an accessory. So in this case, we'd be looking for the sliding door. So the living room Eve door is right here. So when the door is opened, what do I want to do? I can turn on different things. So if I have some hue lights outside, or some other, maybe I have my iDevices switch with some Christmas lights or some little lights around my porch, whenever that door is opened and it is after sunset, I'm going to have my outdoor lights to come on. So this is perfect for when I have my puppy and I want to take it outside, and I want to make sure there's some lights when I am coming and going and it's at night. So lots of different things that you can set up that work particularly for your smart home. So let us know your ideas down in the comments below. There is a link in the description if you'd like to pick one of these up for yourself. Otherwise, please go ahead and subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Till next time, this is Andrew for MAO Magic.